Hello, welcome to Back to Coding. For better understanding of this video, I highly recommend you to check out the previous video or the complete playlist in the description below. Today we'll be talking about building a grid layout. As we have seen in the previous video, we are going to sketch the user interface and split it into rows and columns, build up the layout row by row. The first thing we will do to create our new layout is sketch it out. That way we can see how many rows and columns we need, where each view should be positioned and how many columns each view should span. The first row has a text view in the first column with the text of 2 and an editable text field in the second column with a hint of enter email address. The second row has an editable text field with a text of message. It starts in the first column and spans across the second. It needs to fill the available space. The third row has a button with a text of send. It's centered horizontally across both columns, which means it needs to span the two columns. The grid layout needs two columns. We can position our views how we want if we use a grid layout with two columns. Now that we have the basic grid layout defined, we can start adding views. Row 0. Add views to specific rows and columns. The first row of the grid layout is composed of a text view in the first column and an editable text field in the second column. You start by adding the views to the layout. You can use layout gravity in grid layouts too. We are using fill horizontal because we want the editable text field to fill the remaining horizontal space. Then you use the Android layout row and Android layout column attributes to say which row and column you want each view to appear in. The row and column indices start from 0, so if you want a view to appear in the first column and first row, you use Android layout row is equal to 0, Android layout column is equal to 0. Note that the row and column indices start at 0, layout column is equal to n refers to column n plus 1 in the display. Let's apply this to our layout code by putting the text view in column 0 and the editable text field in column 1. Row 1. Make a view span multiple columns. The second row of the grid layout is composed of an editable text field that starts in the first column and spans across the second. The view takes up all the available space. To get a view to span multiple columns, you start by specifying which row and column you want the view to start in. We want the view to start in the first column of the second row, so we need to use Android layout row is equal to 1, Android layout column is equal to 0. We want our view to go across two columns, and we can do this using the Android layout column span attribute like this. Android layout column span is equal to number, where number is the number of columns we want the view to span across. In our case, this is Android layout column span is equal to 2. Putting it all together, here's the code for the message view. Now that we have added the view for the first two rows, all we need to do is add the button. Row 2. Make a view span multiple columns. We need the button to be centered horizontally across the two columns like this. Code for it is shown below. The button spans two columns starting from row 2, column 1. It's centered horizontally. Here's a summary of how you create grid layouts. How you specify a grid layout. You specify a grid layout using grid layout. You specify how many columns you need using the Android column count attribute. You say how many rows you need using the Android row count attribute. Specify which row and column each view should start in. You use the Android layout row and Android layout column attributes to say which row and column you want each view to appear in. The row and column indices start from row 0, so if you want a view to appear in the first column and first row, you use Android layout row is equal to 0, Android layout column is equal to 0. Specify how many columns each view should span. You use the Android layout column span attribute to specify how many columns each view should span. If you want a view to span across two columns, for instance, you use Android layout column span is equal to 2. Thank you for watching this video. Please do like, share and comment on this video, which really motivates me to make such useful content for you. Also, don't forget to check my other videos which can be helpful to you, and finally subscribe to my channel.